Not every wound looks like a wound. Some people grow up fine on paper, fed, housed, never hit, and still walk away scarred, because healing was never about how bad it was. It's about whether anyone ever repaired it with you. And here's the uncomfortable part. Most of what feels like just who I am, the vigilance, the guilt, the constant bracing for something to go wrong, are actually signs the child inside never got the safety they needed. Not weakness, not drama, just a nervous system still running an old program. This video isn't about blaming anyone's parents. It's about recognition. You can't outgrow a pattern you've never named. And some of these, I'll be honest, you might recognize in yourself. That recognition is where the healing actually starts. 7 signs, all grounded in decades of research on attachment and childhood development. Work by researchers who spent careers studying what happens when a child's world isn't safe enough, early enough. This isn't about how loving your parents looked on the surface. It's about what your body learned to expect, long before you had words for any of it. Let's start with the one that looks the most like a strength. It's the one people get praised for their whole lives. Sign number 1. They became responsible too soon. Not responsible for chores, responsible for the household's emotional weather, managing a parent's mood, translating fights, making sure everyone at the table stayed calm. Family therapists call this parentification, a child taking on a caregiver's role before they're developmentally ready for it. Family therapist Salvador Minichin described it as a role reversal inside the family structure. The child becomes the emotional manager. The parent, even unintentionally, becomes the one being managed, and a child's nervous system builds itself around whatever job it's given. If the job is keep everyone calm, the whole system organizes around scanning, predicting, preventing. That child doesn't get to be a child for very long. They get praised for being so mature, an old soul, wise beyond their years. Those compliments feel good. They also quietly confirm the job assignment. In practice, this looks like the oldest sibling who always knew when to change the subject at dinner. The kid who learned to read a parent's footsteps on the stairs to know what mood was coming. The child who stopped asking for things because asking added weight to an already tired parent. None of this looked dramatic from the outside. It just looked like a very responsible kid. And responsible kids grow into responsible adults. The ones who organize everything, fix everything, hold everything together. They're often the most competent person in any room, and also the most exhausted, because the nervous system never got the memo that the job is over. It's still scanning, still bracing, still waiting to catch something before it falls. In a room where nothing needs managing, they feel restless, almost suspicious of the calm. So they find something to fix, or someone to help, or a crisis to manage, even a small one. Rest doesn't feel like rest. It feels like the moment right before something goes wrong. Healing this looks like learning a sentence most of these people never got to say as children. This isn't mine to carry. It means noticing the reflex to manage a room and choosing, on purpose, not to. It means letting someone else's mood exist without immediately trying to fix it. It means being cared for without translating that care into a debt to repay. Watch what happens when someone is in a room where absolutely nothing needs handling. Do they relax into it? Or do they start looking for the next thing to manage? The nervous system that was never allowed to rest doesn't know what rest is for. Sign number 2. They can't ask for help. Not won't, can't. The words get stuck somewhere between I need and actually saying it out loud. John Bowlby, the founder of attachment theory, described a pattern he called compulsive self-reliance. Children whose early requests for comfort went unanswered learn something efficient and sad. Don't bother asking. It's not that the need disappears, it's that expressing it stops feeling safe, or even useful. So the child adapts. They learn to meet their own needs, quietly, without involving anyone else. And that adaptation, which once kept them safe, becomes a permanent operating rule. In practice, this looks like moving apartments completely alone rather than asking a single friend for a hand, struggling silently at work for months rather than saying I'm overwhelmed, I need support. refusing help even when it's offered, sometimes visibly annoyed that it was offered at all, being secretly proud of never needing anyone, wearing exhaustion like a badge of honor. That pride isn't strength, it's a scar with excellent posture, because somewhere, a small child learned that needing things led to disappointment, or worse, to being a burden. And that belief doesn't update on its own just because the child grew up. It has to be challenged, on purpose, one small request at a time. High attachment security sounds almost boring by comparison. Hey, can you help me with this? Said simply. No apology. No lengthy justification for taking up someone's time. That simplicity is the whole skill. Not needing less, trusting more. Trusting that a request won't be too much. Trusting that being helped doesn't make you weak. Trusting, most of all, that the person on the other end actually wants to say yes. That last one is the hardest trust to rebuild. It usually wasn't available the first time around, so healing often starts smaller than people expect. Not a dramatic ask, a tiny one. Can you grab me a coffee while you're up? Practiced enough times, it starts to feel normal. And normal is the goal, not gratitude, not guilt. Just an ordinary, unremarkable ask. The tell, offer someone real, meaningful help and watch the very first reflex on their face. Is it relief? Or is it a fast, automatic no? I'm fine? Really? Watch what happens if you gently push past the first no. Sometimes underneath the automatic refusal is a very tired person who forgot help was allowed. Letting someone help you is not the opposite of independence. It's what independence looks like once it stops being armor. Sign number 3. They panic when someone they love goes quiet. A delayed text, a shorter than usual reply. A partner who seems a little distant tonight. And suddenly the mind is running worst-case scenarios at full speed. This connects directly to attachment theory, first developed by John Bowlby and later tested by Mary Ainsworth. Ainsworth's famous strange situation study in the 1970s watched how infants reacted when a caregiver briefly left the room. Securely attached infants were upset, then calmed quickly once the caregiver returned. Insecurely attached infants showed something different: heightened protest, difficulty calming down, even after reunion. Ainsworth called this protest behavior, an alarm system activated by separation, real or perceived. For a child whose caregiver was inconsistent, silence wasn't neutral. Silence sometimes meant something bad was coming. A parent's withdrawal, a slammed door, a mood that vanished behind closed eyes. That child's nervous system learned an equation: quiet equals danger. And equations learned early don't quietly retire, just because the child becomes an adult. In practice, this looks like sending 3 follow-up texts because the first one went unanswered for an hour, replaying a conversation, searching for the exact sentence that made someone go cold, assuming silence means anger, or rejection, or the beginning of the end, feeling a genuine wave of physical panic, racing heart, tight chest, over something as small as an unread message. That panic and an overreaction to the text. It's a completely appropriate reaction to an old, different danger. The nervous system is responding to the current moment using data from a much earlier one. High attachment security looks almost strangely calm from the outside. Someone goes quiet, and the thought is simply, they're probably busy, or tired, or need space. Not, I did something wrong. Not, this is ending. That calm isn't indifference. It's the result of having learned, at some point, that silence usually just means silence. It can be learned later in life too, through steady, safe relationships that don't confirm the old fear. Every time someone goes quiet and then comes back, unremarkably, without incident, the old equation gets a little weaker. Quiet plus danger, repeated enough times without the danger ever arriving, eventually becomes just quiet. That rewiring takes time. It also takes noticing the panic without obeying it. A useful practice. When the spiral starts, ask, is this about now or about something older? The tell, watch how someone handles a partner needing a quiet, ordinary evening alone. Do they tolerate the space with ease, Or does the space itself start to feel like a threat? Learning to sit inside someone else's silence without panicking is one of the quietest forms of healing there is. Sign number 4. They apologize for things they didn't do. Someone else bumps into them, and they say sorry first. They ask a simple question and preface it with sorry to bother you. They have a normal human need and open with sorry. I know this is a lot. This is sometimes called an appeasement strategy, and it's a very old survival skill. In households where conflict was unpredictable, kids learn to de-escalate before anything even happens. Getting ahead of a possible reaction becomes safer than waiting to see if one comes. Sorry stops being about fault. It becomes a peace offering, sent out preemptively. A tiny white flag, waved before anyone's even picked up a weapon. Researchers studying households with unpredictable anger note that children develop finely tuned threat detection systems. They learn to read a room in seconds, a tightened jaw, a change in tone, a long pause before an answer, and they learn that being small, agreeable, and apologetic reduces the odds of triggering something worse. That system works brilliantly for surviving a chaotic household. It works terribly for adult life, because most people in most rooms aren't a threat at all. But the old alarm doesn't know that yet. In practice, this looks like apologizing for having an opinion in a meeting, apologizing for taking up space on a crowded train, even when there was nothing to apologize for, apologizing to a partner for being upset about something that genuinely warranted being upset about. The apology ain't really about the specific moment. It's a reflex, fired automatically before conscious thought catches up. High emotional security sounds different because it separates real fault from reflexive appeasement. I'm sorry I was late makes sense. There's an actual fault to name. I'm sorry I have feelings about this doesn't, and healed people stop saying it. That distinction has to be rebuilt slowly, sentence by sentence, because the reflex runs deep. One practice that helps, catching the word sorry mid-sentence and asking, quietly, what exactly am I apologizing for? Sometimes the honest answer is, nothing. I just did something ordinary, and an old alarm went off anyway. Replacing sorry with thank you is a small, surprisingly powerful shift. Sorry for venting becomes thank you for listening. Same moment, completely different internal posture. One assumes you were a burden, the other assumes you were worth the time. The tell. Count how many times someone apologizes in an ordinary, low-stakes conversation, not the apologies that make sense, the ones that appear before any actual mistake has been made. Those are the ones still doing the work of a child trying to stay safe in an unpredictable house. Sign number 5. They keep choosing people who recreate the same chaos. Different face, different name, somehow the exact same feeling in the pit of the stomach. The unavailable person, the hot and cold person, the one who keeps them slightly off balance, and the stable, consistent, kind person, somehow that one feels boring, even suspicious. This connects to what Bowlby called internal working models, mental blueprints for what love is supposed to feel like. Those blueprints get built early, often before age 5, based on whatever relationship was actually available. If love was inconsistent, the blueprint says, love is inconsistent. That's simply what it looks like. So later in life, the nervous system isn't looking for healthy, it's looking for familiar. And familiar, to a nervous system shaped by chaos, can feel identical to chemistry. That racing heart when someone is unpredictable ain't always attraction. Sometimes it's just recognition. The body saying, oh, I know this feeling. This is what love felt like before. In practice, this looks like feeling a spark specifically with people who are emotionally unavailable, getting bored, restless, or oddly suspicious around someone who is consistently kind and reliable. Mistaking anxiety, will they call, will they stay, did I do something wrong, for passion? Choosing friendships that mirror the same dynamic. Give, 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 and hope it's eventually returned. None of this is a conscious choice. Nobody sits down and decides to seek out chaos. It's the nervous system running its oldest, most familiar program, mistaking familiar for right. Healing this starts with an uncomfortable recalibration, learning that calm is not the same as boring, that a slower heart rate around someone can mean safety, not a lack of connection. It means sitting with the discomfort of too easy long enough to notice it's actually just easy. Trauma researcher Bessel Kolk writes about how the body keeps score long after the mind has moved on. The body has to be retaught what safety feels like, slowly, through repetition, not through a single insight. One practice: when meeting someone new, notice whether the pull feels like calm or like a familiar storm. A familiar storm dressed as chemistry deserves a second, slower look before anything else. High attachment security is drawn to steadiness. It finds reliability genuinely attractive, not underwhelming. It can sit across from someone kind and simply enjoy that, without waiting for the other shoe to drop. That's not a lack of passion. It's what passion looks like once it isn't fused with fear. The tell: look at the last several people someone has been drawn to, romantically or platonically. Is there a pattern? Not of bad people necessarily, of a specific, familiar emotional shape. Noticing the shape is the first step toward finally choosing something different. Sign number 6. They can't receive kindness without suspicion. A compliment lands, and the first instinct is to deflect it, argue with it, or explain it away. A gift arrives, and instead of gratitude, there's a flicker of, what does this person want from me? Genuine generosity gets met with genuine discomfort. This makes sense once you understand what kindness sometimes meant growing up in an unpredictable home. In some households, warmth wasn't reliable. It came and went, sometimes attached to conditions. A kind moment might be followed, hours later, by anger, or by kindness being used as leverage. I did this for you, so now you owe me. Turns generosity into a transaction with hidden terms. A child raised on that pattern learns something rational. If painful, kindness isn't always safe. It can be the calm before something, or the opening move of something else entirely. So the nervous system starts treating warmth the way it treats any unpredictable variable, with vigilance, waiting for the catch, scanning for the string attached, bracing for the bill that comes due later. In practice, this looks like immediately trying to repay a kindness before even fully receiving it, feeling a strange itch of anxiety when does something generous, rather than simple warmth, assuming compliments are manipulation, or the setup for an ask, struggling to simply say thank you without adding a joke, a deflection, or a disclaimer. None of this is ingratitude. It's a very old, very reasonable form of protection. The problem is that the protection is now running in rooms where nothing is actually being sold. Healed attachment can receive a compliment and just let it land, without needing to earn it retroactively. It can accept a gift and simply feel cared for, not indebted. That shift is subtle but enormous. It's the difference between bracing for kindness and resting in it. One practice: when kindness arrives, pause before responding, and just notice the urge to deflect it. Then try something small and radical, saying thank you, and stopping the sentence there. No explanation, no immediate repayment, no joke to undercut it. It will feel strange at first. Strange is often just the sensation of an old alarm not going off. Over time, unconditional kindness, offered consistently, without hidden cost, starts to retrain the alarm. Not instantly, not through one nice gesture. Through many, repeated, and boring in the best possible way. The tell: give someone a genuine, no strings compliment, and watch closely what they do with it. Do they simply receive it, or do they immediately try to hand something back, just to balance the ledger? Learning to receive without suspicion is, quietly, one of the deepest forms of trust a person can build. Sign number 7. And this is the one that quietly sabotages the most good things. They feel guilty when life is actually going well. A good relationship, a stable job, an easy week, and instead of relief, there's a strange unease. Some part of them is waiting for the other shoe to drop. Psychiatrist Bessel Kolk described how trauma keeps the body bracing long after real danger has passed. The threat detection system doesn't check a calendar. It doesn't know the danger ended years ago. Psychiatrist Dan Siegel calls the range where a person can stay calm and present the window of tolerance. In a chaotic childhood, that window often stays narrow. Even good news can push someone outside of it, because in an unpredictable house, calm moments weren't safe. They were often the quiet before the next storm. So, the nervous system learned, reasonably, to treat calm as suspicious rather than as an actual signal of safety. In practice, this looks like picking a fight right when a relationship starts feeling steady and good, quitting a job right as it starts to feel secure and comfortable, feeling more at home in stress than in ease, almost relieved when something finally goes wrong, downplaying good news the moment it arrives. Well, it probably won't last. That sentence, in pessimism, it's an old prediction, based on a real pattern from long ago. Some people even describe a kind of survivor's guilt about their own happiness, as if being okay means abandoning the child who wasn't, or betraying a family that never got to feel this calm. That guilt is heavy, and it's also completely understandable given where it came from. But it isn't a signal to protect, it's a signal to gently, patiently update. Healing here means widening the window of tolerance, teaching the body, slowly, that calm can just be calm, that good news doesn't need a hidden catch to be believed, that rest doesn't have to be earned through crisis first. One practice, when something good happens, pause and simply name it out loud. This is good, I'm allowed to enjoy it. It will feel unfamiliar. Unfamiliar isn't the same as unsafe. Over time, staying present in good moments, instead of flinching away from them, becomes its own kind of practice. Not forcing happiness, just not sabotaging it the moment it shows up. High emotional security can simply enjoy a good day without waiting for the catch. It trusts, slowly, that safety doesn't always have to be followed by loss. The tell, watch how someone responds to genuinely good, unexpected news, full ease, or an immediate, quiet scan for what's about to go wrong. 7 signs, all of them, at their root, about the same thing. A nervous system still protecting a child who needed protecting a long time ago, becoming responsible too soon, never asking for help, panicking at silence, apologizing for existing, choosing familiar chaos, fearing kindness, fearing peace. None of it is a character flaw. All of it once made perfect sense. Healing isn't about erasing what happened. It's about finally giving your body the safety it never got. Awareness of a pattern is the first step toward interrupting it. You cannot heal what you've never named. None of these 7 signs are permanent. They're old adaptations, and adaptations can be updated. Which of these 7 signs do you recognize? In someone you know, or in yourself? Drop the number in the comments. That's all, and subscribe if you want more psychology like this. I'll see you in the next one.